Next week, with Mark's return, he will be reviewing Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, which is not just the latest Marvel behemoth, but it's the latest film to be directed by James Gunn. Now, before Marvel, he sort of learned his craft at Trauma, the same Trauma which the Lloyd Kaufman cameo in the Transfiguration. And his first feature was Slither, which was this creature feature horror that is very underseen and very wonderful, and everyone should go and see it and get it on DVD or wherever it's available now. The Belko Experiment feels like an attempt by James Gunn, because he wrote and produced this. He didn't direct it, but he wrote and produced it. It feels like an attempt to sort of have this really gory palate cleanser between blockbusters. But in fact, he wrote it back, I think, before he even made Super. And then just the script was shelved. And then it came about that someone said, well, look, if you're not going to direct it, then can we get someone else to? And he said, well, why not? Well, why not? Well, let me tell you. The actual director is Greg McLean, who made Wolf Creek, and that will give you some idea of the supremely sadistic tone that this film goes for. It's based almost entirely in an office block in Bogota in Colombia, where this company called Belko Industries, suddenly one day all the shutters come down on the building, and the staff are basically told that they will have to find two people among themselves to kill, or something bad will happen, something even worse will happen to them if they don't. And things mount and mount from there. And here's a clip of the staff of the office going into meltdown at this news.
Please, stop putting words in my mouth.
I'm sorry, but that sounds to me like you're saying you want to kill innocent people.
No, I am not saying that at all. I'm saying that we need to discuss all our options.
Well, we understand, but we are not going to entertain the option of killing people.
What do you got, a mouse in your pocket there, Melt?
Mr. Norris has a point.
Absolutely he does. Look, we have to think about what is best for the whole group. All right, look, I know no one wants to actually think about sacrificing 30 lives, but if it means saving the lives of an additional...
It doesn't matter what the circumstances are. We do not have the right to take innocent human lives. Yeah, that's it. And besides that, there are practical reasons.
Like what?
You can't really think that they're gonna let anybody live to tell about this.
So the idea is that you're supposed to be watching this and thinking, what would happen in my place of work if this happened? I mean, I've certainly worked in an office a while back where if a voice had come on the intercom and said, you have to kill two people in the next half hour. Only two? Really? Anyway, the actual challenge stuff is all out of Battle Royale, the Kenji Fukasaku film from a while back. But also the idea is that you have this microcosm of society, in this case, specifically the workplace, that are put under extreme pressure to see how they break down. And, that's something that Romero did in the Dead trilogy, and Ben Wheatley did, though not explicitly in Horror, in High Rise, Frank Darabont in The Mist. The problem with this is that the situation that's contrived is so completely airtight. There is no real way that these people can respond to what they're being presented with, other than just blindly and unhappily going along with it. That there is no experimental side to the experiment at all. It's just seeing horrible things happening to not particularly pleasant people. And this idea, I mean, for example, they've all got what they think are tracking chips implanted in their heads, so that if they go missing, if there's a problem with kidnapping apparently in Colombia, then they can be tracked down. Of course, these turn out to be devices that can explode if they decide not to cooperate. So I don't really know what we're supposed to be gleaning about human behavior from this. I think it's inspired by things like the Milgram experiment, where, you have this person with a clipboard and a white jacket saying, okay, you have to electrocute this person. And you'd give them an electric shock and they're really suffering. Electrocute them, please. Electrocute them, please. Will you go along with that or not? What's interesting about that experiment, which is a real life psychological experiment that was carried out, is the people who are doing the electrocuting have the opportunity to walk away at any time, but because they're being told by their handlers not to, they persist and they commit these terrible acts against what they believe is another human being. What this film kind of assumes is what's interesting about the Milgram experiment is people are just being electrocuted. So it spends a lot of time showing exploding heads in very graphic and plausible detail. A lot of time people agonizing over what they're supposed to do, running around, screaming in corridors, holding knives and guns and things. But it doesn't really have a purpose beyond that. The soundtrack backing is very arch and ironic music choices. You have I Will Survive, Spanish cover version, calm, lulling classical music that plays out over these sequences of people being tortured and killed. And the film is taking this stance where it's saying, okay, we are kind of laughing up our sleeve at this horrible scenario that we've concocted, and we're inviting you to also laugh up your sleeve at it. And for me, that's just, what's the point? Let's actually see a real experiment, something interesting going on that tells us about the psychology of the participants.